You finally come to the last step in finishing your fence, and that's hanging your gate. Here's Taylor again to go over all the details in order how to do that.
So the final step of your finish before you put caps on is you're going to be hanging your gates. So what you're going to do is you're going to find where your gate post was, which today it's this one, and then you're going to look inside the one you set with that steel insert. Whichever direction it's pointing is going to be the way the gate is swinging. In this case, this gate swings out, so my hinges will be going on this corner of the post here. And so there's a metal insert in there. So on your gate, as you see the turnbuckle here, one of the posts is going to have two metal inserts for the hinges. It's going to attach to metal for strength on the gate itself as well. And the side that those are going to be on, so this side has the turnbuckle, so that means this post does not have the inserts in it, but this one will. So then you'll know which post you're going to attach your hinges to. And the turnbuckle always goes to the inside of the yard. So the next step you're going to do after you know which side of the gate has the steel inserts in it, you're going to attach your hinges. And so what we use for that is we have just a 3/8 bit here and our self-tapper screws, and those are what we use to attach our hinges to our gate and our gate post. And each gate will take 22 of these, if that helps for when you're buying them. So to start putting them on, the side of the hinge that's going to go on the gate itself is the side that has this nut and bolt on it. That'll give you the ability to adjust your gate to even your gaps on each side when you're done, and that's for both hinges. So as you can see here, now we have our hinges on our gate. Again, the nut and bolt side go on the gate itself. And the best way that I found the average distance is if you take your tape measure and you measure about 8 inches from the end of the post to the closest part of your hinge, that'll make sure that you hit the insert that's in there. And then, so once you have one hinge on, both the inserts are going to be kind of slid up one direction. You just take your gate and basically tip it, and that other insert will slide down. And then once you'll be able to hear it. And then same thing, come down here from the bottom of your gate, measure 8 inches, and all 4 of your screws should hit that metal insert. And then it'll also be more uniform and look more aesthetically correct once you hang the gate. So after you're done putting your hinges on, it's nice to have an extra hand to actually attach the gate to the gate post itself. That way you can kind of stand back and make sure your top rails flow nice and even so your gate isn't too high or too low. And so Bryce is going to hold it up here for me. So the key is when whoever's holding the gate for you, they hold those hinges nice and flush to this post. And then you kind of stand back and line it up, go up a little bit. Say right about there. Then you're going to come in with the same screws. And I always start with the middle hole on the hinge that's attaching to the gate post itself. On both the top and bottom. That way you can step back one more time and just make sure it flows real nice, because if it doesn't, the hinges will give you some play to move that gate up or down and be able to hide that hole if you need to, but if you have an extra hand, usually that won't happen. So as you can see, it has a nice flow from that rail into here, and it has one nice even, and then go ahead and put the rest of your screws in. So then after you get those screws in, you're going to open your gate, come to the inside here, and there will be 4 more screws in each hinge that we're going to put in. You can see right here. So the next step, after you have all your screws and all your hinges and your gate attached, if your gate is in a longer line, not on a corner like this, sometimes you'll have to take the tension cable here and tighten it or loosen it, basically just to adjust the pitch up or down, so that say if there was another rail here, that it flows from that rail all the way through. So it just looks like it's almost like a panel within the line. So next you're going to take a 3/4 inch wrench, just a regular old crescent wrench. You're going to measure. We're going to basically make it so the gaps on each side of the gate are even. So right now on this side, I just take a tape measure. We got about 1.5 inch gap there on top. About the same on the bottom. And then over here, you know, we only have about a 1/2 inch gap on top and bottom. So now we're gonna adjust these bolts, these nuts on here. So basically all you do is you just start loosening them, and you just kind of, there's no real method to it. You just kind of start with one, you know, the same side, and you can use your tape measure and measure it just right. And you're basically just gonna adjust these now. You know, you're gonna wanna adjust both nuts and get them both nice and tight. And so your gaps on both sides, top and bottom, match up. And you'll see me do that here. Alright, so now all my gaps are right about 1 inch space on top, bottom, and on both sides. So then now we're basically, once all 4 of your nuts are tight on that bolt, we're going to move on to how to attach the latch to the latch post. So every bag with the latch in it you're going to get is going to come with a little template like this. So basically you're going to use this to mark where your latch is going to go on your post. So you just take it basically a comfortable height you feel that you want to use your latch the most. And so one of the little pieces has a little arrow on it right there, as you can see. Basically, you're gonna point this arrow into the gate gap itself. And then on here, so you're gonna mark the center hole. Just put a little mark there with a pen or a Sharpie. And then you're good. That's all, literally all you have to do there. That's your center. And then I'll take a speed square and I'll line it straight up across here. Put this on the other side, same thing, arrow pointing towards your other mark, basically. Take your speed square and just line it up nice and centered, and then center that hole on there. You can kind of see how I have it nice and in line. Take your marker or your pen and make a little circle, and then you're going to come to this outer side of the template. There'll be 2 holes that say 5/8 on them. Those are the ones you're going to want to mark next on both sides of the post. So I'll make a mark, come back on this side, line it back up on my hole that I have here. This side of the hole again, the 5/8 holes. Make your marks. And that's basically gonna let you know where to drill your next holes and how to center up your latch so both sides line up good so you don't have any failure with the key mechanism. So as you can see here, next bit we'll need is a 5/8 bit for just drilling the one. You can get different ones. This one's for vinyl. You're gonna come to your post. We're not gonna drill any holes on the inside of where the gate holes are gonna be, just where I talked about these 2 5/8 holes. Again, take your 5/8 bit, put it right on my hole there in the center. Now I'm just going to drill all 4 of these now, these 2 and the 2 on the opposite side. And the key on those is you don't want to go too fast, because that'll make a nice smooth circle for your holes here, so nothing ever catches when you put your latch mechanism in there. So as you can see now, we have all 4 holes, 2 on each side of the holes drilled out here for the latch to go through. So next what you'll need out of your latch bag is your bag of screws. There's 2 different types of screws in there. There's going to be 4 screws in here that have a more round head versus a flat head. The round head ones are going to be for your striker bar. All the rest of them will be for attaching the latch to the post. Alright, so next we're going to attach the part of the latch that has these bars on it first. And so you'll always know the best way to do it is the key will always be up when you put your latch on here. And sometimes, depending on where your gate swings, you're going to have to basically switch this plate to make sure that the key is up. It's really simple. There's 4 Phillips head screws in there. You just take them out, flip this plate 180, same on the other side, and then you're good to go. So what I'm going to do here is basically just feed these through these holes, come through the other side, line them up. As you can see, they're just, and there it's okay, they're just barely going to stick out here. So now I have my screw ready to go. You're going to come here and I'm going to line this up with that original hole by that little arrow on the template I made. You're just going to line it up right nice and centered and throw this first screw in. And that's the only screw I start with on that, because I like to put this side on and test it to make sure everything's going to work before I put the rest of the screws in. So your next piece is this part that doesn't have any of the bars on it. Same thing with this. If you need to flip it, it's got these 4 screws. Take it out. There's a little black pad in there. You're going to want to keep that where it's at when you flip this template. Put it back on, you're ready to go. Same thing, keys up. And this part can be kind of tricky. So basically this bottom bar here that pushes the lever up and down goes in this bottom hole. And this top bar you have to rotate to fit right into that little groove. And that basically makes it so when you turn this key, as you can see there, that's what makes the key work on both sides. So I always start with the bottom part because it sticks out a little further. And you just kind of have to look on there and you use this key over here. You can see it'll turn that bar for you. So put this part on, then you just got to line that up. And once it's lined up, you'll know because you'll be able to lay it flush on there. Same thing, I slide it up, line it up with my mark, and then I'll test it. Just give the key a couple turns either way. As you can see, both keys are turning the same direction, which is good. And then you're gonna take one of your screws, put it on your drill there. Again, if you have someone to help you hold your drill and put the screws on for you, that can be beneficial. If not, just kind of be careful. So same thing, line it up with your mark, throw this screw in. And once the screw is tight, you don't want to keep spinning it because it'll strip itself out if you go too far. So now I test everything. My push button lever is working. Turn the keys. It'll have about a half turn of play. So it's unlocked, locked, unlocked, and so now everything's working. So then I'm going to go ahead and put the rest of my screws in. And you're going to want to keep constant pressure towards the post when you're putting these on so that the screw doesn't pull this away and take it out of the little mechanism holding it for the key. All right, so I just always check it one more time, make sure everything works. Same thing, that's working. Keys are turning together, unlocked, locked. Then you're gonna want to turn it into unlocked to attach your striker bar. And then I always just take this key and kind of fold it up on top of here so it's out of the way of the striker for when I'm testing to put that on. So the last step in hanging your gate, other than putting the caps on at the very end, of course, is you're gonna hang your striker bar next. And so basically your striker bar obviously goes on the side of the gate of the swing that's going to go into your locking lever edge there. And again, these are what those 4 round head screws are for. These ones are going to be for this. So what I do, I just hold my striker bar right on there, get my Sharpie or pen, whatever you're going to use to mark again. And I just kind of shut it in there, make sure it's flush on here. And you're going to want to center it right in this lever here, this little latch. So that when you move it, open it a little bit, it's going to have a little bit of play, so that you're not hitting, too much on the bottom or the top here. So then take my pen, I just make my mark on this bottom hole, and just lift that and just take this right off. As you can see, I have my mark now. So now I can come over here to actually attach the striker bar. So same thing, just hold it on there. As you can see, line it up with my mark there. And then I always put the screw as close to the inside of the striker bar part as possible, so if you ever do have to adjust it, you will be able to hide your screw holes if for some reason you ever adjust it. So up right there. So see, you can see where I put it. Got the first screw in there. So now it's nice and flush. I'll take it and just test it. And you want it to go right in there evenly and have just a little bit of play so that it's not, that way you know it's nice and centered. And once you have that, basically, just go ahead and I just throw it on the inside here. So now you can see where I have those screws located within those little grooves. Take your gate. Should shut, and like I said, you should have a little play. You'll know if you're too high or low. If you get it a little off, you can adjust your tension cable to just a little amount, adjust it up or down to get that striker bar nice and centered. So I just tested a couple times, give it a close. Everything looks good, and the last step is just glue your caps on, and that's how you hang your gate. Alright, so each gate you're going to have 4 keys for, so you get plenty of chances to lose them if you do. So basically what you're going to do is you're just going to turn it to the unlocked or locked position. I start with the unlocked. And you're just going to turn it and just push this button in to find out where that is. And then you're going to take either one of the sides and it's going to come out. And then that's when you can shut your gate and turn it back to lock it if you want. So it's locked, turn it, and you're going to have a half a turn of play. And you should be able to just pull that key right out of there. And then same thing, you'll be able to lock it and unlock it from either side. Put it in there, give it your half turn. You'll kind of feel a little bit of friction in there. You can see it's unlocked. Turn it back a half turn, key comes out, and now it's unlocked. Same thing for locking and unlocking.